The guy's played in 2 Super Bowls. He's won one. Like,
It's true.
he's done everything right off the field, on the field, whatever. I don't care what the media says. Let him be who he is. He's a great leader, and I got no issues with Jalen Hurts.
Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Tough Loss Bro, a podcast. Big news this week. We got to talk about it right off the bat. LeBron James is a 76er. Whoa. Jeff, you're the Philly guy. What are your thoughts right off the bat? What do we got?
I mean, it's LeBron. That's awesome. He's still, this isn't like Michael Jordan when he was kind of hitting the end of his career where he's averaging like 19 points a game. LeBron's still playing like he's 25 years old. I'm excited. Stack him up with this team. This starting lineup is pretty cool, even for a guy that doesn't really care about the Sixers that much ordinarily. But I'm going to jump on the bandwagon now, and I'm going to root the Sixers all the way to next year's championship. Yeah, that's right. Yep. That's right. I don't care. It's no reaction. I don't care. We're going all the way. Yep. Knicks they can enjoy their time in the sun right now, talk all their shit, but it's ours next year.
All right, Steve, what do you think?
It's interesting to me. I mean, I think everybody thought he was going to go to either Miami, Cleveland. Yep. Going to Philly, it doesn't. As a Knicks fan, it's still Knicks in 5. I don't care. I don't care about LeBron being there because I think it's going to be something that's just so annoying in the media. It reminds me of that Dream Team Eagles team from back in the day. Where they just kind of like put this team together, and it's like the land of misfit toys. Do they have the most talented starting lineup? Yeah. There's only one basketball though, and so like you got these 2 brand new, like sort of like young rookie or second year players that are awesome that they should be building around, and you're just gonna have LeBron James and Joel Embiid load manage like half the season, and so they're not going to gel until probably March, and then maybe they go on a run, but I just don't see them. Now, if he sticks around for a second year, maybe they can get it done. I just don't see them winning it in the first year. I just don't see it. I'm not scared of LeBron James at all.
I personally, I'm just like, I'm indifferent about it, honestly. I always just talk about the character of the athlete, I feel like, so I'm going to come off it from that spot. And when it comes to off the court stuff, LeBron and his I Promise school, the statistics back that up itself. So I really like the guy's done some great things off the court, and that has to always be appreciated, whether the flopping thing or whatever it is. But I thought something interesting when I was just looking at this. It's his 24th season. Yeah, it might be. But what I found that interesting was this is his 24th season, which seems like it might be his farewell season. And LeBron came in during Kobe's 8th season. So I thought that was interesting with those parallels, being that they're always in the same GOAT conversation. So I thought 8 and 24 were just interesting numbers.
That's actually cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
So, but we'll move on to mini camps because today is a league-wide opening of mini camps. So I wanted to dive in with some hot takes. Steve, go ahead, talk the Bills for us.
Yeah, so obviously, losing Sean McDermott is kind of a big change. I love Sean McDermott because he built a culture for a team because we had missed the playoffs 17 years in a row. And so he came in, he built a culture. Of course, we drafted Josh Allen a year later, and we've been in the playoffs and gone deep a lot. He just kind of couldn't get us over the hump. Kind of reminded me like Andy Reid back in the early 2000s. Like you're just getting like right there, but you just can't get over the hump. And so I was okay with sort of letting him go, but I also wanted the GM gone because they kind of came in as a pair, although it was a year apart. But they elevated the GM, who's made some pretty horrible picks, which is sort of why we're lacking. And then we elevated Joe Brady off of the same staff. I didn't quite understand that because the problem with the team isn't necessarily the talent. We have Josh Allen; he's the best quarterback in the league. We finally got him another wide receiver. We got him DJ Moore. But the problem was the coaching. Like in the biggest time frames of a game late in the playoffs, there was mistakes made. And so if we keep running back the same team, but then put in a brand new coach who has to learn on the fly, is he not going to make the same mistakes? Is he somehow magically going to be better? I don't think so. Sure. And so it's I think we'll be good again, but I'm just a little worried about Joe Brady. It might be a little bit too big of a role for him because Josh Allen's only got like 3 years left of a prime.
I didn't really think about that actually with his prime with the Bills. Like I always feel like because now quarterbacks play well into their 40s. Well, some do anyway. I mean, you have older quarterbacks in the league at this point.
The way Allen plays the game, Allen's not going to have the longevity the way he plays the game.
No,
True.
Cam
It's
Newton was
very,
done at like 33, and it's
Yeah.
like the same thing.
Yep.
yeah. So that is, yeah, coming for, yeah, I didn't think of Allen as being past his prime, but he does play the game with this certain mentality that could certainly push it. Jeff, you've got the Eagles. What do we got from the Eagles side?
Yeah, for my team, I think that the Eagles are not going to skip a beat without AJ Brown. I just don't think they're going to miss him at all. Hurts can come out there with a clear head. He doesn't have to think about touches going to one single guy because maybe he's going to have an issue with it after the game, even after a win. Like he's upset because the Eagles win 50-2 or 50-3, and he only had 2 touches. So there's a problem with that. So now Jalen Hurts doesn't have to go in the game with that same kind of thought in the back of his head, like, oh, is AJ getting his touches? Devonta Smith is not that guy. He's always been a number 1, just stuck in a number 2 spot. So now he just moves into where he should be to begin with. And he's not that egotistical wide receiver that you get from the AJ Browns or the Stephon Diggs or, those big name wide receivers. So I just think from there, maybe not even that they won't miss a beat. I think they'll be better. They're going to be a better team without him. They still have that, like the whole roster. Still got Saquon, you still got Devonta, you got Goddard, you got the whole offensive line that's still the tops in the league for at least another year, maybe 2. It's all there. Jalen Hurts is one of the best deep ball throwers in the game. If you look at it from the analytics side, him and Josh Allen are both around the same area with most completed deep balls over 50 yards in their careers. So his 2 biggest games he's ever played were in the Super Bowl. So just taking away that headache is going to just elevate the Eagles, I think. And I can see the only issue I see is maybe Mekhi Lemon, their newest draft pick. I can see him being kind of that diva, but it's his first year, and I'm hoping that maybe he's just like mirror my wings before I start acting like a diva. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But I think the Eagles they're not going to miss a beat.
Do you think that there's any credence to the talk about like Jalen Hurts and him being like a locker room kind of not cancer, but a problem in the locker room because he's so chill and people don't appreciate that? Because I've heard, I mean, I don't know if you've heard that.
I've heard it. The Philly media is just so fucking toxic. Like they
Yeah,
just look for any reason to shit on anybody. Like if he was a
yeah,
rah-rah guy, they'd be like, oh, he's doing too much. Why does he need to do that much? He should chill a little bit. So he does that, and it's like, does he care? Does he have an emotion? Blah blah blah. It's like, shut the fuck
yeah.
up. The guy's played in 2 Super Bowls. He's won one. Like
It's true.
he's done everything right off the field, on the field, whatever. I don't care what
Yeah.
the media says. Let him be who he is. He's a great leader, and I got no issues with Jalen Hurts or his lack of enthusiasm, I guess they would say.
Good. I love that take. And I'm a Jets fan, so this is really difficult for me. It's just like a different sport, same loser mentality from the Jets. So I'm a double loser basically. But our audience, maybe they'll think I'm a triple loser because of my Otani takes. But I digress. 15 years of futility, years of what a great draft, and on paper, this team might compete. Well, the problem with the Jets, in my opinion, is just the rot starts at the top. And I'll compare Woody Johnson to James Dolan. And recently, obviously, we saw James Dolan step aside because their ownership tenures have been pretty similar, meddling kind of owners being all up in the GM's business and just all over the place. But Dolan finally had the brains and he stepped aside and let Leon Rose cook. And what happened? Nixon, what? 5? Nixon 5. So their first championship in over half a century. And my problem is with the Jets is that Woody has too big of an ego to step aside. And as a meddling owner, that kind of breeds corrosiveness. And that corrosion, unfortunately, runs through the entire building and onto the field. And I could talk about all this stuff till my ears bleed, honestly. Woody Johnson, Mr. Baby Oil himself. But I'd rather talk about the preseason. As we stated, minicamp opens up today, league-wide. So I wanted to jump into that, and plain and simple, has the dampening down of the preseason led to or affected the beginning of the regular season? What do you guys think?
I'll jump in there. So when the preseason was 4 games, 4 weeks, plus the Hall of Fame game, I thought it was a lot better. I mean, you have to have the weeks where you showcase the practice squad players, guys making the team, all that kind of stuff. But it followed this like routine. So the first 2 games, like pros didn't really play. The third game was like the real game that everybody got into, everybody played, and then the fourth game was
Yeah.
sort of like a tryout for the whoever was left over at that point. But you at least had one game that you could really sort of dive into and get practice in. And so it's interesting because I'm a proxy in Las Vegas for football contests. And so you have all these people entering these contests, like 20,000 entries last year, probably 30,000 entries this year. And what happens is teams like, say, the Bengals, ones that don't really spend much time practice, or some teams do practice with less padding and just don't really like run the players ragged. There's certain rules now because you can't have 2-a-days. Linemen get less practice, so they tend to take a little bit more time to get into the season as well. And so what you see, even Bill Belichick, who I guess is the greatest coach of all time, you would see the first 4 weeks of the season, they would go 2-2. And then they would go like 8-1 after that.
Yeah.
And so they just weren't really implementing what needed to be done in the preseason. And so now the first 4 weeks of the season has basically become the preseason because of the extra game as well. And so they have that added game in there, so they have a little bit of flexibility, but you're just not seeing the same intensity through the first 4 games. And so you see teams like Cincinnati every year, they start off 1-3 and they knock everybody out of these contests. It's hilarious. But it's so bad. And then also what you have too is like, if you have teams with new coaches, new quarterbacks, new coordinators, it takes even longer for them to gel when they should be doing all of this during the preseason. And so the first 4 weeks are so unpredictable. And that's, in my opinion, because they eliminated a game from the preseason and they just don't practice as hard during the preseason as well.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think and I'll take it even a step further. I think that not only has it just weakened the beginning of the season, and it's like the first 4 games, like you said, have become the preseason now. It's also, I think, just weakened the league as a whole overall. Like we just don't see the same kind of intensity or talent come from these teams as we used to. Every position down, like quarterbacks, running backs, all of them have just kind of taken a hit, and it's so inconsistent throughout the year, where like you're never seeing like one team that really kind of just gets it and runs away with it all the time. Like there's always something there that's holding them back, or it's hard to like really put into words exactly, but you just see it on the screen. When you see it, you're like, wow, this just isn't what it used to be. Like when I watched the NFL 15 years ago, and it probably has to do with the intensity in practices. Like Steve was saying, you're not allowed to hit this hard anymore. Quarterbacks can't be hit at all. Like you can't even like graze his jersey with your finger without getting a flag. So from all that, I think it's just weakened the NFL because the intensity is just not there anymore. It's not the same.
I think there's 10 new coaches this year. If there's 10 new head coaches, you could just fade all those teams for the first 4 weeks.
That's true. And that's an issue too. I feel like there's no leeway anymore. Like if you're a head coach, you get a year, maybe 2 to get your team together. And it takes years to get guys developed and getting a team gelled and really getting to go. So you see the teams that do the best are the teams that give their coaches that time to kind of build a culture and everything.
Not the Jets, right?
Oh, no, not the Jets. No.
Because the culture is impossible to build when you're going through coach after coach after coach and GM after GM after GM, right?
Pretty much.
Pretty difficult.
Jets could probably be relegated.
That would be awful. But I think what we're really talking about here, and why these things were kind of implemented, and I agree, it does take a hit on the regular season. It does seem like a almost non-competitive-ish kind of football the first month, where people are trying to feel each other out and they don't really like. You were talking about the offensive line gelling and things like that. Like that's super important for running game and like QB protection and things like that. I think that we'd be remiss not to talk about the player safety that is involved in all this, and why these rules came about. The less or the dampening down of the preseason. So I just wanted to make a mark about that, and what you guys maybe thought about that kind of rule change in that sense, where the dampening down of the regular season came and was born from these preseason lack of, I don't want to say effort, because they still put these, I don't want to say these guys aren't putting effort in. It's just been a lack of preparation. We'll use that word, preparation, in the early months of the preseason, because they're not. That's what it's all about, is player safety. And I think you're adding a game too, so it seems like it's just like this money grab thing. Maybe even like the first month, the season may seem like it's only like 9 or 10 games at this point. Sometimes the players will rest at the end of the season, I think, and things like that. So it's just a dampening down maybe of the end of the season for teams that are in it and locked into their seed, and the beginning of the season's kind of dampened down as well. Do you guys have any thoughts on, like, maybe it's just like almost like a 10-game season ish at this point?
I mean, it feels that way. And as for the player safety part, I think that's just a crock of shit. I don't think the NFL really cares. Like, I think they're putting on a facade about it. Like you said, they want to go to 18 games. Like, you care so much
Yeah.
about their safety, but you're going to make them play 18 games now as opposed to 16 as it was a couple years ago. You can't keep adding games and claiming to say that you care about their safety. That's just another game of being in
Sure.
100 car accidents, So yeah, they can keep that to themselves. That has nothing to do with the changing of the rules.
Yeah. What do you think, Steve?
Well, player safety, I'll just jump into because I do agree it's just not as competitive for the entire season anymore. But what we just saw in the World Cup is they picked stadiums where the owners were willing to put grass in instead of turf because people demanded it. And so some owners are cheap, and so they just put in turf. And you, as a Jets fan at MetLife, I'm sure you see how many injuries happen, non-contact injuries. They don't give a shit about player safety. There's always another man up. It doesn't matter. They don't care. They're adding games. It's money, money, money.
Players have been begging for grass.
They bet.
They've been begging for it. Yeah,
and they just saw it in the World Cup. I mean, have you ever run the turf where like the little black pellets come out? Like, it's so weird. Like,
so crazy.
They want grass, but apparently it's about like $5 million a year for them to maintain the grass, and so they just don't do it. So they just put in the turf and they watch everybody blow out their knees, and they don't care.
My heart bleeds for those billionaires that don't want to spend the extra $5 million.
Oh my God.
I'm dying on the inside for them. That's funny. It's actually interesting because that when the NFL doesn't have guaranteed contracts, and I like just thinking about what you just said. There's no guaranteed contracts in the NFL, and it is there is $5 million more attached to having grass. If guys do get injured, insurance policies cover the salary, and owners aren't paying that. They're just paying into an insurance policy. So they're saving money all sorts of ways. So you are like 100%. It's kind of crazy to just think like, player safety, but they'll look to pocket as much money as possible at all times. It seems like, doesn't it?
Is it not a tax write-off?
I don't know. I just know that when you are injured, the owners you're paying into an insurance policy, and insurance pays that contract. Just like workers' comp kind of deal. Yearly, the league takes a look at the rules. This year, they may have changed some rules. I didn't think there was anything noteworthy to talk about. But if you guys had any thoughts on some rule changes that you thought you'd like to see implemented, what do you guys think? Any rule changes you'd like to see in the future? Speaking of rules and encompassing this episode.
Yeah, this one's near and dear to my heart. I hate this rule so much. I think it's the worst rule in the NFL, maybe in sports. So I'll set up the scene. Let's say Josh Allen is driving the Bills down 80 yards, getting into the red zone, the green zone, throws a ball to DJ Moore. DJ Moore is diving towards the pylon, puts the ball out, putting in like extra effort, and somehow it comes out and then just fumbles out of the end zone. That entire drive is basically wiped out. It's turnover, and it becomes a touchback, and the other team gets the ball. How does that make any sense? I just don't understand how one fumble that goes out of the end zone, no one recovered it, they lose the ball. And so it just doesn't make any sense to me. I think if they made a change, they should just give them like a 15-yard penalty or something, or maybe a loss of down.
Sure.
But it just doesn't make any sense to just turn the ball over after you did all of that work.
I mean, I agree with you, and it's a little harsh, like when they dive out and they're losing possession and giving the ball over to the other guy. But at the same time, like, you got to hold on to that ball. Don't go down there. You spend all that time working hard to get down to the end zone, and you're just going to squander it away by reaching over the line haphazardly. Like, sometimes they're not even like holding on. They're just like reaching that ball out like this, and the ball just gets popped away. And I agree it's harsh, but I also like it from a strategic standpoint that it really makes you think before you start diving into the end zone. Are you going to waste this entire drive on this? Like, just tuck the ball. You get another down. unless it's fourth down and you're reaching for it, then at that point, then the rule wouldn't make a difference because you're going to lose possession anyway if you don't make the touchdown. So I wouldn't say I like it, but I get it. And I understand where it comes from because there has to be a penalty. I don't feel like pushing him back 15 yards is harsh enough. So I just think they need something to keep these guys, protect the ball a little bit more. That's the whole point of the game. Protect the ball.
I definitely understand that argument, protect the ball. I think it's funny, like in the heat of the sports moment, none of us are athletes or been in that moment, where you're like, they're fighting for that end zone is what you're talking about essentially, is that they're fighting for that end zone. And I think that's where Steve's argument comes in, is like, they're fighting for that end zone. And you're saying essentially that the fight, oh, well, maybe you'll lose the football. And Steve's like, well, the fight is good. Like, these guys are fighting. They don't deserve to lose possession, which is,
fight better.
I fight better. It's when guys are slapping the ball. It's so difficult. And these guys are in the trenches, getting, like you said earlier, 100 car wrecks a game. So this might be like the 100th car wreck of the game. And the ball might be difficult to hold on to in that last minute at that point. So it's kind of funny to talk about that. But I do agree that the touchback rule is like the most egregious one. And so that perhaps needs to be looked at. And it might even be the worst. But speaking of the worst, Steve, what do you think about the worst QB room in the NFL? Who do you think has the worst QB room in the NFL?
Yeah, good transition. So I wouldn't say that they're the worst from a talent perspective, but they're definitely the worst from a history perspective, and I have no faith in them. I will raise my hand as the Cleveland Browns hater of the group. And so you have three quarterbacks, Deshaun Watson, Shedeur Sanders, and Dylan Gabriel. So two guys were rookies last year. I don't know why they drafted Dylan Gabriel in the third and then took Shedeur Sanders in the fifth. Doesn't make any sense. But, as we were talking about crappy owners, Jimmy Haslam's probably one of the worst of them. And so he greenlighted a trade for Deshaun Watson 4 years ago for 3 first-round picks at a fully guaranteed contract of like $250 million or something like that. Guess how many games he's played since that contract started?
Did he even play a game with the Browns? 3? I don't even know if he played. Did he play 19?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he played like 6, 9, and then 0 because he had a torn Achilles, I think, last year, and then he retore it.
I don't remember
that.
That I remember. Yeah.
He's played 19 games in 4 years. So can you really count on him? He is a shell of what he was before. You have to have such confidence to play that position, and I don't think Deshaun Watson has any of it. So I don't really see much coming from him. Shedeur Sanders, yikes. He's not really set up for success. He's been, if you think about his last 3 years, he was in Colorado, then last year he was in Cleveland, and then this year, of course, he's in Cleveland. That's 3 different coaches, 3 different offenses, 3 different playbooks. For a guy who's really like not all that talented, he's not accurate. Last year he had 1,400 yards, 7 TDs, and 10 interceptions. He has a hard time. Which is why I said the Pro Bowl should go away.
Flag football.
Right, exactly. And so, like, of course he has the name and people want to, pump him up and they want to see something great come from him. And who knows, maybe it could, but I don't think it will. I don't know who's going to be the quarterback of this team. And Dylan Gabriel might be, he's not any good, but he's like,
that was my next. I was going to ask you, like, rank them. Who's the 3? Who'd you start? Who'd you put second? Who'd you put third in that QB room?
I think,
can you even?
I think they have to start Deshaun Watson and just see what happens.
Oh my God.
He's not exactly the greatest guy off the field either. So what's going to happen too is if he stinks it up, he's going to get booed out of the stadium at every home game. They're lucky that out of their first 9 games, 6 are on the road. But it's almost like every game is going to be a road game for him. And then they'll be crying for Shedeur Sanders. He'll come in. We'll see what he does. They lost Schwartz on defense, so that's going to be a problem just for the way like the game flows.
That was horrible. That was so bad they let him go.
Dylan Gabriel, I don't know. He's probably like a David Carr type. So, I mean, you'll get a little bit out of him, but I would have to go. They'll start Watson, then Sanders. I don't think Gabriel will even see the field.
Well,
so I just have a quick stat. Since the trade, Watson was traded, he owns the league's worst completion percentage, yards per attempt, and TD to interception ratio.
Okay. I got one more thing just to piggyback off the first thing that I started with. Ownership rots at the top, right? I'm sure you guys have seen that Cleveland Browns jersey that has like all the names on it or whatever down the back, starting with Tim Couch. So since they came back into the league, they have had 42 different quarterbacks. That jersey would need to be a dress at this point.
It is a dress. But I kind of I don't even know where to go from there. But I just kind of want to get onto a positive note because wow. So let's get back on a positive note, and well, real quick, Jeff, say something positive about the Eagles.
Well, I'm going to pivot here a little bit because I said something
Sure.
positive about the Eagles when I gave my hot take about the season.
Okay.
So I'm going to go a little bit of negative. There was a email that Nick Sirianni sent this past week to his team after practice, and at the bottom of the email, he didn't remove the ChatGPT tag where he asked ChatGPT to clean up his email and make it sound more motivational. So everything I said about the Eagles before, where AJ Brown's not going to make a difference, I don't know. Maybe the coach will. We'll see.
What do you think, Steve?
I would be saying something positive by saying the Bills finally got Josh Allen another wide receiver. Yeah. We had wide receivers last year and the year before, that were basically like third string wide receivers just flying around the field. And there was just nobody since Stephon Diggs, who obviously fizzled out. DJ Moore, when I first heard about it, I wasn't super excited because I thought he was like 32. He's only 28, so he's got some time left. Yeah, it matches up with Josh Allen's prime. So I'm just happy Josh Allen has somebody to throw to now that has like real talent and can be a game breaker.
Got his guy.
Yeah. It's difficult. It's difficult to find positivities for the Jets, but I will. I'm looking forward to seeing Cade Klubnik from Clemson this preseason. And the reason why is because he meets all the criteria for a Bill Parcells quarterback coming out of college, 3-year starter, graduated, and we can. There's several other parts that go into being a Bill Parcells quarterback. We can link it in the description. But I'm pretty excited to see that a Bill Parcells type quarterback in a Jets uniform because we haven't had that. And speaking of Bill Parcells quarterbacks, that will lead me right into my getting back up, which is our signature segment on Tough Loss Bro. I'm going to talk about a QB and my favorite QB not growing up, but in my 20s, a 2-time comeback player of the year, Chad Pennington, which screams adversity already when you win that award 2 times. Pennington is a Marshall graduate who also threw touchdown passes specifically to Randy Moss in college, which is super cool, in my opinion. Suffered several injuries throughout his career, chief among them 4 rotator cuff surgeries. So you can imagine a quarterback going through that. It's pretty difficult. And he also tore his ACL. He was never known for his strong arm, but he was very accurate at a time when the rules were a little bit different on how the cornerbacks were covering the wide receivers as far as spacing and things like that. So for me, his greatest game performance came in San Diego versus the Chargers in the 2004 playoffs. Chad threw for 279 yards, completed 79% of his passes for 2 touchdowns, including a 47-yard bomb to Santana Moss, to which he celebrated by flexing his arm. And I will never forget that because all the talk was how he had a weak arm. And he did that with a torn rotator cuff as well in that playoff run that they had. So he did have surgery after the season. He's now a high school football coach at Kentucky. And he just lives the life of a retired quarterback. And Chad Pennington is just one of my favorite Jets quarterbacks of all time. With that being said, we'll move on to Steve's getting back up.
Yeah, not much to choose from the Jets quarterbacks.
Damn.
Hey, I know. Sad but true. It is what it is, man. Yeah, it's true.
Trying to bring everyone back up.
So I wanted to stick with a football theme since that's been the theme of the show, but I saw something really cool over the weekend for getting back up. So there's a boxer named Anthony Joshua. He's a heavyweight out of the UK. I've been watching him for probably about 10 years now. He knocked out Vladimir Klitschko and took over the title probably back in 2016. And he's had like sort of an up and down career, but back in December, he got into a car crash in Nigeria. And in the car was his strength and training coach and one of his trainers and close friends. Those 2 guys died in the accident. Anthony Joshua was lucky. He just had some minor injuries. And so a couple of months later, he announced his retirement. and he had a big fight on the table with Tyson Fury, which would be one of the biggest fights that boxing has ever seen. If they do it in the UK, they'll have 90,000 people in Wembley Stadium, since they're both from the UK. And so he walked away from boxing. I guess he got talked back into it. He had a comeback fight over the weekend. And so on Saturday, he was knocked down in the first 20 seconds of the first round. And then he was knocked down again. And so he survived the round, come back in the second round against this guy named Prenga, who's this huge guy. He's 6'5", 250 pounds probably, and looks vicious. And so Joshua comes back out in the second round and just wipes him out, just knocks him out. And so he was able to get up off the floor twice, get up out of, basically retirement from losing two friends in a vicious car crash in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And so now his next fight is going to be with Tyson Fury. He'll probably make like $100 million in front of 90K or 90,000 people in the UK.
I appreciate the boxing story again, Steve, because I don't, like as we said last week, I don't watch enough boxing. So that's a really great story. I mean, I knew Joshua's story. I knew about the car accident. I didn't realize he was coming back. So that's really, and then to be able to come back and make it full circle to fight Fury is just pretty amazing too.
He just kept coming back. Came back from the accident and came back from 2 times getting knocked down.
Yeah. Well, and boxing
awesome.
too is like you're out there by yourself. Like you do all the training with your team and all that, but when it's time to fight, you got to get out there. And people get knocked down all the time, and they got to get back up. And so sometimes fighters they lose one time, and then you never see them again. They can't psychologically get back up.
All right. Well, that leads us into Jeff's getting back up. And again, Steve, I do appreciate the boxing. Again, I love boxing stories now that I'm getting to learn a little bit more about boxing. So go ahead, Jeff, take it away.
All right. So I understand the person I'm about to pick is pretty controversial. I know people are going to have an issue with this. Just bear with me. Come in with an open mind. And hopefully you agree with me at the end. If not, that's fine. But I chose Michael Vick as my getting back up this time. And I understand this is a lot of times this segment where what we're choosing is guys that have hit adversity from outside sources that isn't caused by them, beyond their control, guys in car accidents, guys without hands, diseases, whatever. That's all stuff that you can't help and you get and you come back from. So from there, I understand that Michael Vick completely put this on himself. So he's coming back from his own self-inflicted harm. But here we go. From the beginning, he was raised in, it's called Newport News, Virginia. It's a housing project where dogfighting was normalized. It was just part of it was a generational practice. He just grew up with this. He was born into it. He inherited the activity from his environment. He didn't create it. So I understand that doesn't excuse the horrific things he did to dogs, but it explains how someone can take part in that type of cruelty without really grasping the moral weight. At that time, he was young. He's just going along with what he knew. And he got caught. The authorities raided his home, raided his dogfighting confinement place. It wasn't his home. He was arrested. He spent 19 months in prison. He was sentenced to 22 months in prison. So he got a little bit of a break on that with good behavior. He's out in 19. He still spent two more months in home confinement. At the time, he had lost his NFL career. I know not many people are going to feel bad about a millionaire losing his money and all that, but he did. He lost his livelihood at that time. Mountains of debt, just between his fines, between the Falcons wanting to recuperate the money they gave to him. He was in a mountain of debt of $17.6 million. So to start his rehabilitation, he actually didn't avoid that debt. He went to Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which is different from Chapter 7. Chapter 11 is where you make deals with your debts, you pay them back, as opposed to just erasing all your debt and starting fresh. So he didn't run away from his debts. He actually took them head on. He ended up paying 17.4 million of the 17.6 back. So he paid 99 cents on the dollar, which is super rare to paying back debt like that. That never happens, ever. So, and then on top of that, he started partnering with the Humane Society. In 2009, he was speaking at schools, teaching kids about the cruelties of dogfighting and the dangers of it and getting into it. He lobbied Pennsylvania lawmakers for the Pets in Cars bill, protecting animals from hot vehicles. He vowed to these kids that he saw at the schools, he's like, I vow to protect more animals than I hurt. So from there, he's just, ever since he got done, he was doing everything he could to make it right. And that brings me to that's the whole point of prison, right? We go to prison not as a punishment, not to be exiled from society. It's to be rehabilitated so you can be re-entered into society as a normal person doing the, hopefully you start from there, you make a change in your life and do the right things, which is everything he's done. He's partnered with Humane Society and I can't remember, there was one other one that he partnered with. And so from there, I just feel like he's done everything the right way. He's done what you're supposed to do. I feel like he deserves that redemption story and deserves to be looked at from a different angle. Being that he did exactly what he's supposed to do. So I hope that everyone heard this. I hope that you all can look at him from a different angle, and you don't have to like the man, but just you can accept the fact that he's the poster child for prison rehabilitation. You don't see that often.
I do that is the story of redemption in the sense of the rehabilitation, and that it can, like, that is the purpose of prison, and the purpose of being locked away is to be rehabilitated and be able to come back into society. And he did that, and he paid not only his debts to his creditors and things like that, but he's paid his debts to society as well and became a better man. And I think that is really, at the end of the day, the whole point of bringing this story to light for you, as far as bringing it to another generation, perhaps, because it was a very long time ago at this point, like 20 years ago.
Yep.
So there might be people that don't really even know Michael Vick's story. So I do appreciate that story as far as the rehabilitation part goes. The dog stuff is very hard to forgive, and there's going to be people that don't forgive him for that, and that's understandable, because I'm one of those people that have a difficult time with that, and that's fine. But it can't be understated that he went through the rehabilitation process and has become a better man. I believe he's like a coach now as well, so he has become everything you're supposed to do outside of when you are punished by society and you do rehabilitate. So let's open it up to comments. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, and check us out every week here on YouTube. Thanks, guys, for checking us out. Have a good one.